Hey there, super friends. It's Joey with Last Bank Gaming. Today is Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. How y'all doing this week? So you didn't, lose it or just fail to see it. There was no episode last week. And we're a little late this week, but we're here. So, there you go. All kinds of new stuff going on. Of course, right after I published the Heroes episode, and I mean, I didn't talk about all of them, so it's fine. For Battlegrounds, they released a patch with 2 new heroes. Neat stuff going on in Phasmo. But I think I said I was going to talk about Magic this week. So we'll at least start there and maybe trail off into something else. I am very excited. Friday is our first event back at the shop. We're doing Modern Horizons 2 Sealed. We're using the new event link, event management thing, and the companion app. I stopped in the shop over the weekend to get a look at the event link side of things. Kind of wish there was an app for that, but it's fine. The responsive site, on my phone, is definitely not great. Fine in a pinch, but would not want to be administering the whole event that way. But, I mean, that's probably how it would be, even if, the screen real estate was used a little more efficiently. There's just, this side panel, down the left side of the screen, that, it just doesn't collapse quite enough. But that's fine. It's fine. Like I said, it's fine for in a pinch if somebody comes up to me and is like, hey, it doesn't look like the results were entered correctly. Well, I guess a pair of players, because that I would need to verify. And, it shows I lost last round, but I actually won. Being able to, go and change the result using my phone rather than have to remember, who I'm dealing with and everything by the time I get back to the counter, because, yeah, my memory is sketchy at best. Yeah, that's nice. Being able to, fire the round from back amongst the players instead of having to, go to whatever machine we're running event link on to hit the start round button. Just little things that'll save some time. So there are no manual pairings. This is something people have brought up. We did test a late enrollment with a buy already in there, and we could not pair them together. Late enrollment is round 1 loss. But we were able to do late enrollment. The next round, they got put in the pairing sequence and everything. We were able to kind of manually enroll players. Now, the hope is that all of our players, use the app, which you do create an account for, so theoretically they could still track the data of tournament results and stuff there. And when you enroll a guest player, you can enroll their email address. You could even, look players up by email address. So that's nice. I'd look for it to become slightly problematic when we start doing actual pre-releases again, especially if we start doing Two-Headed Giant again. Because there are a couple of our kind of my age players that bring in younger kids to play for those events. But it'll be fine. Again, we can manually enroll people and everything, so Though I didn't look to see, is two-headed giant like something you can do? Is that not a thing you can do anymore? That's gonna make me mad. I love the two-headed giant pre-releases. I don't know. I'll have to look at that. Now, as far as not having manual pairings, yeah, it's a loss of functionality, and you never like to see that. Though we very, very rarely used it. It was really only if we had fired the event with an uneven number of players and had somebody show up within like the first, I'd say 10 minutes of the round, and we're like, okay, we'll just pair you together, we'll give you a time extension if you need it. You know, a small enough period of time that if they would end up taking the full time extension, it wouldn't be terribly disruptive to the rest of the event. Or sometimes, where did you come from? Oh well. Sometimes in round 3, we'd have players that were 0-2, and they were a little spikier. So playing out 2 more rounds that they paid to play to try for 2 packs was just not their jam. They felt there were better things they could be doing with their time, and that's fine. The thing that would annoy me is when they don't let us know. So then you end up with a situation where either we had an uneven number of players to begin with, so there's a bye, and now we have another player who has no opponent, and, you know, they're probably both, you know, 0x, so we can pair them together. Or sometimes you'd end up with multiple players in this situation where, you know, there were 2 players that their opponents just didn't show up. But, you know, if they want to sit and play, they can sit and play, and, I mean, it technically, like, it gets counted as an auto win, so. So yeah, at the F&M level, losing manual pairing ability is, you know, just a very, very slight inconvenience. If you were heavily utilizing manual pairing, you're probably why we don't have it anymore. Just saying. Trying to think what else is kind of neat. So one thing that kind of surprised me is there's not like a double confirmation system for entering results. Like, I thought both players would enter results and it would compare them and like give a message if it's like, oh, your results don't match, please see event staff or something like that. But no, one player enters the results and the other player gets notified, which is nice. I do like that there is a notification in the app once results for your round have been entered. So, you know, if your opponent enters and it pops up in your app and you're like, wait, that's not right, you do get notified right away. So it's not like before, if the match slip wasn't filled out right, or if a mistake was made in entering results. I want to act like it never happened. It just didn't happen as much as our players thought. Because it would, more often than not, when we had an incorrect result, it's because somebody didn't fill out their match slip correctly. So, you know, and then you wouldn't find out until the start of the next round when somebody's like, hey, it says I only have 3 match points and I should have 6. What's going on? It's like, oh, well, you know, the slip indicated that you lost last round. No, I won it. And their opponent's like, yeah, they won it. You filled it in wrong. And yes, now, if somebody was snarky about it, hold on, I gotta pause y'all real quick. Yeah, like, if somebody got snarky about it, I would bring out the match slip and would, you know, make the edits on the match slip and be like, oh, so you're saying that instead of this player winning 2 and this player winning 1 is actually, and like basically show them that their match slip was wrong. Like, generally I'll just suck it up and be like, yeah, whatever, fine, I'll go fix it. But if you're going to be an ass about it, I'm going to make sure that you know that this was actually your doing. Maybe it's a little bit passive aggressive, but like that just bugs me. And like I said, sometimes we did mess up. Mistakes happen. But anyway, so now with the Event Link app, or with the companion app, the other player will receive notifications. So as long as, they look at it and go, wait a minute, I didn't lose that round. And the two players come to me, we can get it fixed before the start of the next round, which is nice. You can still, clear the results for a round and go back and edit match results and then create the new round again, just like you could in the Were. The really neat thing is it has a timer, like a round timer built into the interface and everything, and there's an element on the page you can click that will pop the timer and the pairings into another tab. So we have a TV mounted to the wall in the back of the play area. That's where we would usually put pairings and timer and everything. So it's nice that they observe wanting to project that data, but not necessarily the whole event data. So you can pop it into another tab and set the screen sharing to only focus on that tab. Now, I'm not sure how that all is going to work if we get back to the point where we're running multiple events simultaneously. We used to run 2 F&Ms at the same time. And, for that, there's still the setup back in we call it the office, the back room, with multiple monitor and everything, that we can lock the screen sharing to one of the 2 monitors and just put those tabs up next to each other. There's also a machine in the front of the store, and that we sometimes used, it was more back when I did the standard showdowns. I didn't have the login credentials for the computer in the back room. So if it wasn't logged on when I got there, I had to use the one in the front of the store, which with the Were was really annoying because it's a local database. So if players who played in F&M all the time but hadn't played any of the times that we'd use the front computer of the shop, I can't find them now. I need their DCI number, or I need to give them a new one, which, it's just all kinds of mess. And you don't have to worry about that anymore. So, all in all, I think this is a vast improvement. And I'm interested to see how it goes actually using it and running an event. I have to pause the again quick. But yeah, I'm sure we'll come across weird edge cases and some hiccups actually using it. We just kind of made a little test event. It was, me, boss, one of the store employees, and Sage in there. So we enrolled 4 players and we're playing around and everything. And with 4 players, yeah, it was super easy to manage. With 50 players, it may be less so, but so I'll probably have more to say about it next week after we actually do the event with it and everything. But so far, yeah, it looks pretty good. Now, I do understand that if they were going to use this system for premier level events, the lack of ability to repair is, or to manually pair and repair, is kind of a problem. And last I heard, it was oh, well, this isn't for premier level events. But, what is? Is the Were going to be retrofitted to, I guess it would be retrofitted, I guess upgraded to use like the same email address as the unique identifier for the players rather than DCI number, like, because if you would try to use the word for those kinds of events, all the players would have to be players who were already issued a DCI number and know it. So I don't know. Though it looks like MTG Melee expanded their application to facilitate tabletop, so I suppose you could just use that. But you can still print match slips. We will likely not, unless we have a substantial number of players that can or won't use the companion app. Like, if it's just a couple players, that's not too big a deal. They can, physically report. But, if it's over half the event, then, okay, we need to use match slips. And I don't know how, I don't know if IQs are even still going to happen. And if they are, I don't know how we do that, because I know we were supposed to retain the match slips from those for some amount of time. Yeah, I don't know how that will work, but again, I don't know how much of that's coming back. It's gonna make me really sad if we don't have opens anymore, though we get to the point where EventLink is robust enough to handle events of that size, and they're using that. I guess the Valley Forge venue is actually dead. Well, nah, they can still print match slips. Even if they're using EventLink, they can still essentially do things the same. I just really want SCG Hershey. There's so much cool stuff here. Not really. There's enough cool stuff here. There's an amusement park. We do have a casino. It's like a 20-minute drive from Hershey, but whatever. It's a casino, and there's a horse racing track. Valley Forge doesn't have horse racing. Oh, yeah. So, there. And you know what? I will find a karaoke bar for them BCW boys. So, yeah, no, we're doing Modern Horizons Sealed, and that makes me happy, because that kicks the can of, do I have to update my Modern decks down the road a week? From there, I guess right now we're just planning on doing Modern F&M and kind of seeing where that goes, seeing what we're looking at from there, what our players are looking for, because that's the thing, without the players we don't have the F&M, so we gotta kind of pivot to what the players are looking to play. Though I will not deal with Historic. I refuse. Boss and I actually talked about that. I guess somebody mentioned to him, oh, hey, are you gonna run Historic? And he was like, what? And I straight up told him, yeah, I will have nothing to do with that format. I'm sure I have said before that I wish it would go away as a format, and that's kind of mean. I don't want it to go away as a format. I just want to be able to ignore it. Because, yeah, generally I think it's kind of an asshole move to want something removed that doesn't really affect you, but that other people enjoy. So, for those of you who enjoy Historic, you go ahead and enjoy it. I just want to be able to ignore its existence. Because that format makes me angry. Unreasonably so. Yes, I totally admit that. 100% own it, but, oh. Just like, what even is it? We were talking about doing like a casual commander thing on Fridays, you know, alongside the modern F&M, but not really like not officiated or anything like that, which is good, because commander brings up the weirdest interactions, like just some straight up weird shit. And I'm sure if I have the cards in front of me, I can like actually make a ruling. Just with time to time get these players that's like, so if I have this and my opponent has that and this happens, judge, what happens? It's like, well, look, you're asking me to make a ruling on a hypothetical scenario. The cards are not in front of me, and the wording on cards matters a lot, and you're talking about some really obscure cards that, no, I don't just know the text of them off the top of my head. I'm not an encyclopedia of Magic. I'm sorry. It's a real failing of mine. And like I even said about, like, I'd build a commander deck and keep it on hand. Because usually whatever formats we're running, I try to keep a deck. Standard gets a little rough because, like, that one actually requires effort to maintain a deck that's legal. But luckily, Dealer was usually working on some bit of wackiness that he had, you know, on the shelves behind the counter that I could just grab and play for a standard F&M if we need another standard player. Because while I prefer modern, there were definitely weeks that we were like one shy of being able to fire standard. So I'll take the hit and I'll go and play standard so that we have enough to fire the event. But like towards the end there, our standard presence really died. Like we just had so few players interested in playing it. Because anymore, standard really isn't significantly cheaper. Like, competitive standard decks are not significantly cheaper than modern decks. And the modern decks you get to play for, like, ever. Only have to upgrade every once in a while. Whereas the standard decks, it's like every season. It's not just when rotation hits. Because some decks, like, when the next set hits, the answer to that deck hits, and the deck's now worthless. So it becomes very expensive to continue to play in any way competitively in standard. And the thing is, we had enough spikes that, you know, were grinders in the larger tournament series that people felt the need to kind of rise to that challenge. So yeah, no, standard is just such a huge money sink. And like, yeah, if you're gonna compete in any format where you're going to actually grind the tournament circuit, you being a deck specialist, like being a Caleb Shear, is more of a risky venture because depending on what's going on in the format, decks become really not good, right? Humans went from being like top of the heap tier 1 to kind of trash when everybody was tired of losing to them and just put board wipes and torpor orbs in their sideboards. Or it's like, oh my god, this deck's unbeatable, I think we need to ban something from it, we should ban Aether Vial, yada yada yada. The thing is if you banned Aether Vial, humans would just pivot to be a Coco deck. Well, maybe. I don't know. I think even banning Aether Vial doesn't shut down that deck. It just causes it to need to pivot to a little bit different of a strategy. But focus. Yeah, it went from discussion of does something need to be banned to, just getting knocked down in a tier or two. So now I'm not one of those, I'll play a different deck every week, I'll play whatever is best in the format this week. No, I pretty much play humans or Storm if, I'm feeling extra bold and I'm like, yeah, no, I know how this deck works. Not really. I know how that deck works when everything goes as planned. I don't know how to play from behind with that deck. Yeah, no. Caleb makes it look so easy. It's like, yeah, you just, play a bunch of shit and win games. And then you end up in a position where somebody keeps killing all your cost reducers. Or, they drop a Leyline of the Void or a Rest in Peace, and you're like, well, shit, what do I do now? So, there are some upgrades that have to be made to humans. Even if it's not changing any actual cards in the deck, I got my Skippy Secret Lair Thalias that I have to replace the old ones with. And I got my Super Skippy Noble Hierarchs and Meddling Mages. Though I will only use 3 of the Meddling Mages because I have 1 actual Meddling Mage. And it is signed by Chris Bakula. I actually got to meet him at an open. Really nice guy. Just super fucking nice. And that Meddling Mage, that 1 copy, is the sketchy hand keep card. Because every time I have had a kind of sketchy opening hand, but that card's been in it, and so I'm like, okay, well, I got the real Meddling Mage, so I'm going to keep it. It's worked out. It's the lucky Meddling Mage. So, I got nicer versions of certain cards I want to put in there. I do have to, play a Path to Exile deck, because husband got me, I think it was for my birthday last year, the GP promo Super Skippy alt art, full art Path to Exiles with the stained glass coming apart. I really love the art on those. But yeah, Humans doesn't play Path to Exile. Neither does Storm. So now I gotta find a Path to Exile deck to put them in. Though yesterday on Versus Live, Ross Merriam was playing a Martyr of Sands deck, and it's mono white, so I have to assume Path to Exile is in it. I didn't get to catch much of Versus Live, though it was great. As soon as I tuned in, I hear Ross talking about, why isn't Stoneforge Mystic in this deck? You got all these Squadron Hawks, why not put swords on them? And it's you're right, Ross. Why do we not give swords to the Hawks? I do love Squadron Hawk. That card makes me just silly happy. I just love cards that really aren't great. It's it's the rampant joke. Tana Grace is a Delver player, so, Delver of Secrets is his jam. And there was some discussion that something channeler, Dragon something channeler, maybe unseating Delver. And, somebody had made a comment about, yeah, because Todd Anderson wrote an article on it. It's his article this week on StarCityGames.com. If you want to go read it, you probably should. I haven't read it yet. I plan on it, though. And, like, I replied with, how are you going to disrespect Delver right where Tan and Grace can see you? And somebody replied with a comment like that they did not care for the Rant's take on this set, and, you know, completely overlooking that and kind of holding on to Delver. And, I mean, I replied, I'm like, yeah, we all have that card we see with rose-colored glasses. At least his is a good one. I mean, mine's goddamn Managorger Hydra. Swear to God, Todd Anderson does one more Wreck the Deck stream where people can donate subs or bits to, you know, put a card in his deck, and I put Managorger Hydra in it. Someone's got to make the Mean Girl meme, or the Mean Girls meme. You know, Joey, stop trying to make Managorger Hydra happen. It's not going to happen. The card just has so much potential, and I feel like there's got to be something. Put that skippy new piece of equipment on it. That, you know, is indestructible and gives it indestructible. There's got to be something. It's a very glass cannon card. And I mean, I still haven't quite let go of Sarah Angel. Even though, you know, Lyra Dawnbringer and Sarah Angel have the same mana cost. Not even converted mana cost. No, they have the exact same mana cost. It's like, what does Sarah Angel do? She flies. And, ooh, she's vigilant. And, no, that's all. Huh. Okay. But yeah, we all have those bad cards that we love. So, neat stuff in Modern Horizons 2. I'm excited to get to actually see the cards and interact with them because, yeah, over the last year, as preview seasons have come and gone, actually, as it's been like kind of one continuous preview season, I'm just not connected to it. Like, I kind of don't care. I've tried to care, and I just don't. So, now that Paper Magic is slowly ambling back to the field, maybe I'll care a little more again. I don't know. I hear Urza's Saga is, you know, really wrecking Legacy. Who'da thunk? A non-legendary saga stapled to a land. Really? But so far, we're not really seeing a Hogak kind of card, which makes me very happy. There are very good cards in the set. I like Ragavan. I am very excited about Ragavan. I don't know what to do with him yet, but I'm very excited about that card. What else is there that sounds just like really neat? There are a lot of cards in the set that look pretty great. I'm excited about Esper Sentinel in humans. I would not put Shardless Agent in humans. I know that's like a thing. People are like, oh, it's a human and it's Shardless Agent. Like, right? People are very excited about Shardless Agent. I don't know if I'm right, but I am generally not big on putting anything in humans that puts Manus Riders on the bottom of your deck. Because in a vacuum, Manus Rider is probably the best card in that deck. And yeah, there are situations where Manus Rider is not an effective card, but they are pretty few and far between. It's pretty rare that if your deck is operating as intended, you're upset to see a Mantis Rider. Now, if you're stuck on 2 mana and haven't seen an Aether Vial, then yeah, of course you don't want to see that. You want to see another Noble Hierarch or goddamn another land. But it's a very rare occurrence that you draw a Mantis Rider and you're like, I didn't want that. Right? It is one of the most agile cards in the deck. And it's the whole reason I didn't like Militia Bugler either. When that card was first previewed, everybody's like, oh yeah, that's going to go in humans. And I looked at it and I'm like, this is too slow for humans. Put shit in your hand. I mean, it's an Aether Vial deck, so your advantage comes from your hand, so But the big thing is that it put Mantis Riders on the bottom of the deck. And whiffing on Militia Bugler with like 3 lands and a vial, that's still fine. You were very happy for that to occur. Okay, maybe not very happy, but you were content enough for that to occur because it meant you were putting all this air on the bottom of your deck and digging your way to gas. Putting 2 Mantis Riders, a vial on the bottom of the deck, and even getting like a Thalia's Lieutenant off the Bugler always hurt. It's kind of the same thing with Shardless Agent. Like, it'd be one thing if the cards that you couldn't cast off the Cascade got shuffled into the deck, but they go on the bottom. I mean, honestly, if they got shuffled into the deck, Cascade would be so goddamn busted. So, it's fitting and right that they go on the bottom, but you're throwing one of the most impactful cards in your deck on the bottom. For what? Like, is it really worth it? Now, I think Shardless Agent is very good, don't get me wrong. I think there's definitely a home for it in Modern. I just don't think humans is it. But Esper Sentinel does seem very good for the humans deck. I'm not sure main deck. I think that might be more of a sideboard card. But it's, you know, it's exciting. But yeah, I hear the set's kind of beaten down Legacy right now, which, what are you doing? It's a little early to be drunk, okay? Please drive, you know, better. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, I don't know if Legacy will adjust to it. And no offense to any Legacy players out there, I honestly, that's another format that I kind of just don't care about. So I don't pay too close of attention to what's happening in it. But it will either adjust or, you know, cards will get banned. But it doesn't seem like Horizons 2 is having the same warping effect on Modern that Modern Horizons 1 did, where you either played Hogak or you lost. So I'm very happy to hear that. And I like that this set is a little more balanced. I mean, yeah, no, I'm still not a fan of Urza Saga, mostly because it's a card with a set name that isn't in that set. I mean, I didn't even like the card Hour of Devastation being in Hour of Devastation, but fine, we could kind of understand that. But when my Twitter feed first started exploding over, like, wow, Urza Saga is busted, I'm like, what? Does anybody even still play cards from that set? I mean, maybe. I have to go, like, see what was in that set, but, like, the whole set is busted? I was a fan of Urza Saga, you know, when it came out, but what? So I'm like, no, I have to be missing something. So I go Google MTG Urza Saga, and all I get is, like, card lists from the Urza Saga set. Like, why are you gonna go and do that to me? Also, I mean, it's a land that's also a saga, and that just, like, that can't end well. I'm sorry. But I mean, yeah, it's kind of sad how few cards I actually know from the set. One of my judgy buddies, MacGyver, shared the JudgeCast podcast episode with me where they go over the release notes from Modern Horizons 2, so I do plan on listening to that this week. So I am better prepared for questions that may come up at this F&M on Friday. Less chance of making a bad ruling. But I'm excited about the set. I'm excited to get to play some Sealed. I'm actually kind of excited to look at moving on to the new deck. That Martyr deck looked really good. I like Gaining Life. Gaining Life makes me happy. This is one of the reasons Ross Merriam is one of my favorite writers for SCG, and I probably read more of his articles than anybody else's. He seems to enjoy decks similar to what I enjoy, so his articles are more relevant to what I'm looking for. But yeah, I haven't actually read any articles in a couple weeks. I gotta go through the backlog and see what I want to look at and everything. But, okay. That's all we have for today. Next week, depending on how Friday goes and everything, there may be more Magic, or I may talk about the beta patch to Phasmophobia that rumor has it is going to the live branch on this Friday. Which has all kinds of exciting stuff. Like, there's a new map, there's new ghosts. Like, I'm actually pretty jazzed about this patch. Sage and I actually talked about setting up to play on the beta instead of the stable release to get to play this patch. The problem is we'd have to start from ground zero, which means doing however many maps it takes of starter items only to start building up our equipment, and starter items suck. They just suck. You know, especially after you've gotten accustomed to playing with, like, the good flashlights, and everybody has a flashlight, and, you know, all the other cool tools. So, hopefully it does actually go live on Friday, and Sage and I get a chance to play over the weekend, and then I may do an episode on that next week, or we may fall back into the cadence where we're mostly talking about Magic. It really depends on how things go from here, like, how much I have to say on that, you know, week to week at F&M, and if things like Opens come back and I start going to Opens again, I would very much like for Opens to come back and, like, do Richmond or something along those lines for my first one back, like, kind of take a weekend off of being a mom and software engineer and wife and all those roles, and just kind of go to have fun with my friends. I don't know, though. We'd have to see if we can make it work. It would really disrupt Girly McToddlerface's routine, and that kid is all about her routine, so I don't know. Hopefully, well, we'll see how that goes once I start going back to F&Ms, if she can get more accustomed to, you know, doing her bedtime routine with husband. But yeah, anyway, that's all I have for today. As always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll actually talk to y'all again next week.